Well, I will start. I will not repeat what you know about Sällbo because it's it's always the same. It's a success factor, but I will adjust to what has been spoken today. In order to speak of racism and discrimination. As I have explained this summer, we have a queue. So actually my company, which is a municipality-owned company, do not discriminate people, whatever they are coming from, with the exception, of course, that we are not allowed to take in people who are getting social welfare in the ordinary way. They are coming into our portfolio by something that we call social program, which means that we give approximately 150 apartments a year. It's always a different number depending on what the city needs, but we give this amount that the city needs of apartments to the city to freely choose who they will put in those apartments. But otherwise, it doesn't matter which age, which background you have. If you're not on social welfare, you have to stay in the queue, and you earn 1 queue point every day, and the people with the most queue points are the first allowed to choose the free apartment. So that's not a problem for us, but it is a problem for the other apartments, for the private sector, where we can just be a role model, but we can't do anything else than showing that it works. Then there is one thing that it's very important also to mention, that in our portfolio we have a different type of apartments in order to fulfill the needs of everybody in the city, which means that we have cheaper apartments and we have expensive apartments. And although we are not discriminating, if you're not having enough money to pay for the more expensive apartments, then you are the one who's searching the cheaper apartments, and those are very few if we compare it with the needs that we have in the city. So that can also be called a structural discrimination, because they can't get the apartment no matter what, as we don't have the subventions from the municipality or from this parliament or anywhere else. But the things that we are, so I will not speak more about that, because I think that Yvette has explained that a lot of times before, and you know how it functions. What we try to do now, because we are also very aware that the discrimination doesn't come just when you get, whether you will get or not an apartment. This is, of course, the basics. But after you have got an apartment, if you're not on the level with the other in the house or in the neighborhood, you will sense a feeling of discriminations. We do not want to make segregated areas or neighborhoods, so we are working with variation. But variation means also that you can put, as we don't have so many cheap apartments, you put people who need cheap apartments in some of the areas, and the others, other apartments are maybe expensive, which means that we have to make them socialize with each other, to make them believe in each other, have a relationship to each other, in order to not discriminate each other. Because that's the worst part of the discrimination process for many people. Because when you get an apartment, you think everything is okay, you have a roof on your head. It isn't like that. you have a roof on your head, but you feel isolated. And that's why we actually built Sällbo, in order to see what is the need, what have we to do, what do we have to do in order to make people start socialized with each other, in order to not discriminate each other and to not pull themselves away from groups that are unknown to them, or they feel badly for because they don't they have never met them, or because they have some ideas. And that's the whole concept of Sällbo, actually. And we have seen now Sällbo has been on in pretty much 3 years. It will be in December. And we have seen the biggest success factor in all the work in order to avoid discrimination is equality. That means that if they don't know how much the other earns, they have apartments that are precisely the same in whole the house. They have precisely the same rights for the togetherness area as all. The rents are on the same level, of course, depending on the square meter, but it's just a little variation. So they don't know nothing about each other. They don't know their social status, their values. The only thing they can see maybe is the color of the skin or the knowledge of the language. But as they start to socialize more, they can see also the other differences. But then they have already started to socialize, which means we have to find environments that allows people to be on the equal level, although they have different backgrounds and different possibilities, which is very, very difficult to achieve in a neighborhood where you try to have a variation of different kind of living possibilities, houses, villas, or apartment, expensive apartments, and but we have noticed that when they are in Sällbo, although there is a very safe environment, when they came to Sällbo initially, they didn't know anything about each other. They started to judge by the appearance, which was something that went off very, very soon. Actually, in less than 1 week, how they look in order to socialize. And then the next thing was how important it is that we can help each other in different things. And that's also the equality. If I help you maybe with some putting up some pictures on the wall, you can help me maybe doing my homework, but it's always important to show the equality. The bottom things of all this following that we have seen, it's to try to achieve the equality in a living way in the neighborhood, which we are starting to try in neighborhoods that are totally different, where you have different people on different levels, and you can see it and you know that. It's very difficult to explain how we work with that, but we are constantly trying to be active in the dialogue with the tenants all over our portfolio, in order to make them feel adequate and good enough for each other. So that's actually the only thing that we have seen that is diminishing the discrimination. Now we are not talking about structural discrimination, because that's something else. That's something that we have to work with on a more strategic level. But by cases like Sällbo, we can also try to do it on the individual level, tenant to tenant and group to group, and make it very operative and try it in different neighborhoods. So if I have to say what is the biggest success of avoiding discrimination, is somebody who can follow how equal the equality level in the neighborhood, and who can be, as the host is in Sällbo, the one who facilitates the meeting. That's what we have seen as a biggest success, actually, and we have tried it on other neighborhoods where we don't have hosts, but we have something that's called district developer, people working on the place in the neighborhood, whose work is to try to put people together. And actually, when they work as the host in Sällbo does, making all the time knowing or very clear that you are just as much a tenant as somebody else, or the other that you have issues with, we see that the discrimination level goes down. That's one of the things that we have noticed. The other thing is the big possibility of democracy, direct democracy in deciding what to do in the neighborhood with their apartment. And we have augmented actually our dialogue, which it's not only a dialogue, it's also co-working with the neighbors, which shows that people, even though they don't put as much effort, everybody put the same amount of effort in co-working with us, they are not jealous of people who are co-working more and maybe getting more back. So because they see the connection between the input they give and what they get out of this. And that makes also easier to equalize the groups and the individuals in the neighborhood. As I said, it's a little bit more practical approach than what you are all talking about, but we have arrived at this level because before we just talked about strategies, about how decreasing the discrimination, and when it comes to the end, it's always on the individual himself to show that he or she are not taking it. We are not letting it be. We're not letting us be discriminated. So, yeah, I don't know if you understand how I meant and what I meant, but this is actually the biggest conclusion that we have today from all the work from Sällbo about discrimination, that it ends on the individual in himself. And as we have tried it there, and they have lived in this method, they have also spread out the method to others, talking about this, which we can see have given results in the way of thinking. We have more people wanting to do something, and when we speak of structural discrimination, we have very strict rules what we are expecting to happen in the structural non-discrimination schemes. But here it is a little bit different. They put different level on what they mean is discrimination and what they feel as discrimination, which means also that they can maybe achieve the possibility to work against it on their own individual level. At least they have that feeling today by letting them be in this process. So yeah, I will stand there. I think that I will not talk about more the other factors that we have seen. I think that I have explained it to you before this summer, so I don't want to repeat them.
Thanks, Dragana.